plants, welcome back to my channel, Planty Princess 92. My name is Ashley. Today I am going to show you how I plant my strawberries. I live in zone 6B and it's spring. It's the perfect time to plant some strawberries. So there's two different types of methods you can use to plant your strawberries. I decided to go with bare root, which is what you see here. This is the more cost-effective way to grow your own strawberries. That you have the crown of the plant and then you have the roots here, or you can start with a already pre-started starter strawberry plant. So I have a couple here that I just wanted to show you really quickly. Now I got all of these at the same time. This started out as these, but I just wanted to show you 5 days progress, what your plant could look like. So in 5 days time, this is what I've got out of most of my strawberry plants that I've already had planted, and they already started to grow a lot of really nice leaves. They're growing really great. And I'm excited to continue the process, get these potted in either in the ground or in a bigger potting bed. I'll decide where I'm going to pot them in the future, but I am starting them out in these 4-inch pots here. So now the first thing I really just wanted to mention really quickly is there's a couple different types of strawberries you can choose to grow from depending the zone you live in. Now there's June-bearing strawberries, EverBearing strawberries, and day-neutral strawberries. I am growing EverBearing strawberries, which bloom 2 to 3 times a year in the spring, in the summer, and then in late summer and fall. So if given the proper conditions, you can have 3 decent blooms or 3 different bearings of fruits each year. Now, it's suggested to soak the roots of the strawberry in water for a half hour to an hour before planting them up into your medium. I didn't do that with these and they turned out just fine, so I'm going to do the same process I did with these that I did with those. So the type of medium that strawberries like is 30% sand, 70% soil. So they do like a pretty sandy mix, and they also do like it more acidic-y. If you have a soil that is more alkaline than acidic, you could definitely grab something like this. Here I have an organic soil acidifier, and it's just a soil additive that makes your soil a little more acidic-y if it's more alkaline. Now strawberries, I would say a good range of pH for your soil would be 5.8 to 6.4. And I added about a tablespoon per 4-inch pot, and that did just right for getting the pH perfect for these strawberries. Now, like I said, I'm not going to pre-soak these in water because they're growing really great. So to start, I am just going to go ahead, pot them up in these 4-inch pots. Now, right now, you want to put a little bit in the bottom of the pot, but only a very thin layer because you don't want to clump up the roots too much. In this stage, it doesn't matter too much because these will get transferred to a bigger area where their roots can spread out. But for the time being, this little pot to start them off is okay. The only very important tip is that I'll show you on this. You want to cover your roots, but by no means you want to cover the crown of the strawberry. If you do that, your strawberry will rot very quickly, and obviously then it will die and it won't grow. So you just want to be sure you don't want to go too low, but you don't want to go too high either. So the perfect height of your soil would be right where the roots end. So about right here. And it would be better to have a little bit of the roots above soil than to have a little bit of the crown below soil. So worst case scenario, leave a little bit of that root above soil rather than putting a little bit of the crown below the soil. That would be your best bet. So I have my soil here already pre-mixed. As you can see, it's pretty sandy. But again, that ratio is 30% sand, 70% soil, and then I put a teaspoon of the soil additive, a tablespoon of the soil additive in each 4-inch pot. So we're gonna go ahead and just fill these pots up. And you want to compact them, but you don't want to suffocate them. So you want to definitely give it a little tap. Make sure the soil is definitely packed up, like compact in there, but not, you know, not suffocating the roots. You definitely want air to get to the roots. And as you see here, in a second, I will show you that I didn't cover any of the crown. And I even left a little bit of the root showing. So I left a tiny bit of the root showing. I don't know if you can catch that on camera, but I did. There's a tiny bit of this top root showing because it kind of goes up a little higher than the rest of the roots. And I'd rather have those roots showing, like I mentioned, than having the crown submerged at all into the soil. So I'm just going to go ahead and really quick get the rest of these 3 potted up. And we're all done. As you see with this one as well, I left a tiny bit of the roots up at the top. So now that we have these planted in their 4-inch pots, the last thing you do is give them a nice drenching of water. Now I use liquid dirt water to fertilize these plants. That's the only type of fertilizer I use. And it worked so far very well with these. I guess when it's time to bear the fruit, we'll definitely know for sure if this was the right fertilizer to use. There's a bunch of different fertilizers you can use, especially for strawberries and other types of fruit. So definitely make sure you do your research on fertilizers. I do not have any advice on any other fertilizer to give you at the moment, because like I said, I'm using liquid dirt and that's the only fertilizer that I use. So that's what I'm going to stick with for my fruits as well. So anyways, you give them a good drenching and then you don't water them again for the next 3 to 5 days. You want to let them dry out and then continue on with your watering the same. So every 3 to 5 days is when your water, as long as they're dried out when that day comes up. So you definitely need to make sure that the soil is dry, your medium is dry before you give them their next watering. So we'll give them a light starter. I like to let that soak in for a moment and then give them a little bit more. Also, sometimes after you water, the soil just compact a little more. So if you ever need to, go back then and add a little bit more soil just to recover up some of those roots. You always can go ahead and do that. As long as the crown's not covered, you should be golden. So that's the last step I have to show you guys today. This is going to be a video that will also contain a part of when I transplant these into their official pots. So I will be back soon with showing you the next step to planting your strawberries. Before we get started, here's an update. We're 10 days in on these 4, the ones that I planted with you guys, and 15 days in on the others. What's interesting is we already have flowers forming on the plants that are 5 days behind at the same pace as the plants planted prior. It's important to pinch off their blooms during the first season of their growth. Allowing them to develop will reduce plant growth, runner production, and the size of next year's crops. Let's take a look at the flowers these strawberries are currently growing. There's definitely a lot of them, and a lot of them do have blooms. Be sure to check the plants weekly to remove any blooms, and you can remove blooms simply by taking them, pinching them off with your fingers, or taking a pair of shears right to them and chopping off all the blooms on each plant. Here we are now about a month and a half in. Our strawberries are officially ready to be planted into their forever pots, we could say. They are currently just growing in little individual, maybe 3.5, 4-inch pots. We are going to be transplanting them into the same medium, the sand and soil mixture, and they are going to be growing in these containers on this stackable garden here. I am going to continue growing this inside under some grow lights. I do have one window in the room that I'm going to be growing this, but I believe it's more of a northern facing window. It doesn't get too much light. So we're going to be providing it with some extra additional full spectrum LED lighting, and like I said, continue growing inside since they are doing so well. So real quick, I'll bring up a few, show you what's kind of going on here, and you can see the growth that they've continued to grow over the past month and a half. They have grown really well to start off with, and I'm actually very excited to kind of continue to grow these. We cut off some flowers already, did all that good stuff, and they're definitely in need of a new pot. So I really am not sure how many I'm going to place in each one. I guess I'll kind of figure that as I go. But you definitely want to make sure they are evenly spaced out. I would say definitely not rows of 2, rows of 1, and I'll probably do 4 in each one, because strawberries do kind of run, and the more space you give them, they'll be able to produce those runners, roots, and then, you know, grow another plant out of that. Obviously, we have limited space here. We are not planting these outdoors in the ground or in a large garden bed, so they aren't going to have unlimited space to kind of travel and, you know, form other plants. But I do want to give them enough space for their roots to spread out, for them to grow nice, big, and bushy, and produce a good yield of fruits in the coming years. I'm going to start by filling my pots. I'm going to start with these 2, and then we will get them filled in with the plants. So I did leave a little lip. It's about 2 inches from the top of the pot, for watering purposes, to keep the plant above the soil. As I mentioned in the beginning of the video, when you're planting your strawberries, you want to plant them at that line so the roots are under the soil, but no part of the crown or the plant is. If need be, you want to leave a little bit of those roots above the soil, just to prevent any of that crown from going below the soil line. So I'm going to fully get rid of all of the soil. I'm going to use completely fresh soil here. So you guys will get to see a little bit of how the roots are also doing. I'll show you on a few of them, and then we'll just get them all planted up. So I'll come up close so you can kind of see quick. So now, as you knew, we were 5 days apart originally. I have these 3 that were planted 5 days before this one. So as you can see, even in size of the plant, there is not much different in growth. That goes to show you like how well these plants actually do grow, especially indoors. It's not a significant amount smaller. Of course, it was only 5 days difference, so it really wasn't a drastic change in time there, but even still, we have some nice roots going on, and you saw the roots before I placed them into the soil. But the foliage even is really nice. It's growing really healthy, it's really green, and these plants are just growing gorgeous. We have some nice new growth on this one down here. So let's get these 4 started in their pots. And like I said, I want to place them. 4 is definitely the right amount here, so they have enough space to kind of grow and flourish and just be happy strawberry plants. Now when you're placing them in here, because this is definitely going to be their official home, you want to make sure you're kind of loosening the roots up and spreading them out. So maybe, you know, have it, you know, sitting kind of like this, or even get some kind of like, you know, like this, how my fingers are. You want the roots to kind of go in all directions. That way they're not just clumped up and going straight down. They definitely like that room to be able to get in the soil and go their own separate ways. So we have our first one all done. So cute. I will definitely pan through and kind of give you a close-up overview of all these when they are completely finished. But for now, we'll just keep going, get these all done. And you'll see the complete finished final product once they're all stacked up onto our little indoor stackable garden. So here we are, we got the final product, final results. We have all 4 pots potted up. They look really nice. I am absolutely loving this stackable planter. Now I do have a few strawberries left here that need to be planted, but I will have to find another solution for these ones because I didn't want to overcrowd these pots here and, you know, put too many in. So I figured I would leave enough space for these and get a separate pot for those ones. I can grow them in my windowsill or on the top shelf under the light. Either way works. Thank you guys for joining me in another video. I hope you enjoyed seeing how I planted my strawberries, seeing them from start to semi-finished. Obviously they're not quite finished yet, but they're finished being potted. This is going to be where they are staying for the next however many years till they literally get too big that they then need to either be moved outside or in a extra big pot all on their own. Definitely don't forget to leave comments down in the description, letting us know how you plant your strawberries, how you take care of your strawberries. I'll be interested to see how well your strawberry plants bloomed in the first year or two. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe if you're interested in the content I provide. And as always, every plant's a princess. Bye!